Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello and welcome to the State of the Economy podcast, as we focus on how 2024 panned out and what's in store as we gear up for the new year. Today we have with us Naveen Malpani, partner and consumer industry leader at Grant Thornton Bharat. He's here with us to discuss how the year has been for the FMCG industry that has been facing challenges of an urban slowdown at a time when new age channels like quick commerce are gaining significant traction. He also gives us a peek into what the new year holds for this industry, which has also been seeing a lot of M&A activity.
So, sir, I wanted to kind of start off with how 2025 has been for the FMCG industry, given urban slowdown has been the key theme that has been discussed.
Yeah. So, Meenakshi, if you look at it broadly from a FMCG company perspective, I think one of the key indicators is how the inflation has been, floating around. If you look at it broadly, the inflation has been floating around between, 4 to 6%, which is something mandated by RBI as well. But there has been a bit of an inflationary pressure, in the overall scheme of things as well. If you look at it, the overall prices of palm oil, coffee, cocoa, as well as wheat, they have been upticking over a period of time, which has actually pushed the FMCG players to actually hike their prices by 3 to 5%. Or the other option is to resort to shrinkflation, wherein you just reduce the pack sizes and grammages to keep the same price points. Now, if I look at it from an overall business perspective, I think the inflation has definitely impacted the urban demand. Urban demand has been getting stagnated a bit, but this has got actually compensated by a very good rural demand in the country. If you look at it on an overall basis, there has been a good rainfall. Post the election, the government spending has also increased. Also, if you look at it from an overall staples prices perspective, I think they have stabilized a bit. And then obviously there is an aspirational demand that comes from the rural side of India as well. So which has just helped to keep the demand a bit steady. But having said that, I think if I look at an overall basis, urban demand has been under pressure because of a bit of inflation, and you see a little less of discretionary spend on an overall basis. But I think the volume stagnation is something that's reflecting in all the FMCG companies' results as well. So from a success perspective, I think the companies that have got a very good spread in rural India, that have got a very good network in rural India, have been able to take care of it. But yes, urban demand is something that will still, in my view, continue to remain pressure till maybe mid of 2025 as well.
Sure, sir. So what do you think will happen in the second half that might help boosting urban demand? Because everybody's saying that the first half is likely to continue to be muted in terms of the urban slowdown. What are the factors that are required to get that urban demand some boost?
See, one of the key aspect, and with a budget just round the corner, I think one of the key demand from the industry has been in terms of rationalization of some tax structures or rationalization of some incentives from a middle class perspective. Typically, if you look at an urban side demand, it has typically followed a K-shaped kind of a recovery where, the affluent, there is no dearth of demand from a premium product perspective. The things where the demand has got slowed down is the middle income and the lower middle income group, where the discretionary spends have gone down drastically. So one of the key aspects that people are expecting is, rationalization of some taxes, rationalization of some GST to boost the demand as well. Also, If you look at it from a global headwinds perspective, there is some stability that's coming in, which will actually help in making the supply chain more efficient. Last year there were a lot of global headwinds as well. Once that supply chain becomes a bit efficient, the raw material availability, and the prices would stabilize a bit. So that will also help the FMCG companies to make sure that they don't have to push the prices again the way they had to do it this year. On an overall basis, if you look at it, we had a good rainfall. We expect some now good government investments as well. If you look at it from a external market perspective, the FMCG sector has actually attracted nearly 10% of the total investment that has come into India. So there is a lot of bullishness in the market as well in terms of the growth that the FMCG companies can achieve. Yes, but if you look at it, technology, customization of the products, how do you make sure that you reach the maximum mass of the customer using e-commerce or quick commerce channel is something that the FMCG companies definitely need to work upon. Because for them to be successful, managing cost would be very critical, because they won't be in a position to pass on the additional cost to the consumer. Because if the cost increases, consumer demand will again go down. So I think on an overall basis, for a demand to be sustainable, obviously there would be some requirement of government intervention, some requirement from an FMCG company perspective also to hold on to the current rates. And then obviously, the overall economic outlook is stable for next year. So there would be a lot of job creation, there would be a lot of demand creation that will happen, which will eventually push the FMCG sector as well.
Sure. And so, how do you view the channel dynamism? You just mentioned quick commerce. It's been one of the most disruptive channels in the past year. How do you view that evolving further?
See, if you look at it, I think globally, though quick commerce has not been a great success, it has a very good success story in India. 2, 3 points to take care of those. One is obviously, as a country, we have got the maximum internet penetration across India. Nearly 99% of the country has got an internet connection. If you look at it from a perspective of the Gen Z, which are primary users of quick commerce, that population is at about 30 to 35% of the country, which is again pushing the demand from a quick commerce perspective. Currently, if you look at it from an overall perspective, I think the demand will still further increase because of the convenience they have started offering. And if you look at all the quick commerce companies, they are in the process of making sure that how the basket size for the consumer increases. So they are no longer concentrated on groceries, which is not a very high margin business, but they are trying to get a lot of value adds to the basket of the consumer itself. So this will just actually push the demand from quick commerce perspective. Also, if you look at it, all these quick commerce companies have now started charging a marginal fee as a quick commerce platform fee. That will actually effectively help them to reduce their cash burns as well. Whilst for a consumer, that amount is not very big, but collectively, if you look at it from an overall order perspective, that collection for the quick commerce companies becomes a sizable number. So that effectively helps them to reduce the cash burn. And obviously they are looking at premium products coming in, but on an overall basis, I think quick commerce has got a very strong future in India. And currently, if you look at it, they are covering only 8 to 9 metro cities of the country. They still have a lot of distance to cover. The market is huge, the demand is huge, so they have a very bright future according to me in the country as well.
Sure. So, and also just wanted to understand about the consolidation. Do you anticipate some consolidation happening? We've seen in the past, some kind of buys here happening, established players investing in D2C brands, and also certain regional and other brands have been on the block, and there has been some acquisitions. So, what's your view on that, sir?
See, basically, if you look at it, post-COVID, there were a lot of brands that were available at a cheap price because they couldn't sustain the overall fall in the demand. And a lot of consolidation happened in that phase where people just believed in spray and pray kind of an approach, that you acquire a brand, whether it will be successful, whether the integration will work or not, was a question mark. And in that space, quite a few brands went off the shelves as well. Now, if you look at it, the consolidation that's happening is where companies are giving up their non-core portfolios. For example, one of the leading companies gave up the portfolio of water purifiers because it was an FMCG company. Water purifier was not their core domain, so they actually gave it up. So consolidation, one would that happen where you're looking to give away the non-core assets. The other consolidation that's happening in the industry where people are looking at products which are not available in their domain. So for example, you see a lot of activity that's happening on healthy food and drinks. There were smaller brands which have actually got acquired by bigger brands, and they can actually help in widening the reach of their products as well. So now consumer companies are looking at becoming a one-stop shop kind of a stuff where you get everything that's required from a consumer perspective. So the mergers and acquisitions would happen in the space where companies want to diverse their portfolio, making sure that a lot of products which are smaller brands but don't have a geographical reach are being acquired to make sure that those products are available pan-India and the growth happens in the overall company as well. So I think that's where you will see some more consolidations happening where people would try and acquire brands or products which are not in their portfolio, and also companies will offload some of the products which are non-core to their original business. That's where you'll see a lot of activity happening on the merger and acquisition side as well.
Thank you so much, sir.